Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Rig on Wheel show featuring MVT, the first ever truck driver recruitment show. And this is, of course, our special guest, Robert Pierson with Mesilla Valley. And I am Kameel Gaines. He is the VP of Jesus Christ, I am
driver
having
recruiting.
Driver recruiting. I am having a bad day today. But anyway, the VP of driver recruitment, and this is your ultimate destination for your tips, hot jobs, and everything, industry news.
Yeah.
We're here to give it to you, right? Okay, so we want to jump right into the industry news.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this diesel.
A lot going on with diesel. I think we talked about a little bit earlier. It's gone about 66.9 cents a gallon over the last 6 weeks. Traditionally, you'll see fuel prices spike up coming into the summer months and usually start waning as we go into the fall months. As we talked about on this podcast 5 weeks ago, Ukraine showed that they were able to target some of the ports off the Black Sea of Russia. That has a major impact as Russia controls about 20% of the oil production in the world. And so we've seen that play out. So this is more of a global trend than it is in just the U.S. But that's impacted. So we're now sitting at $4.47 as the average diesel price in the U.S. at this moment. It's hit the West Coast particularly hard. Excluding California on the West Coast, we've seen it go up about 19 cents over the last week, a little bit less as you go back towards the eastern part of the U.S. But as we've talked about previously, that price means you got to slow it down. When diesel prices go down, you tend to be able to speed it up a little bit, and you want to squeeze some extra miles in because you end up making money off that fuel surcharge if you get that. You don't necessarily on the spot market rate. When fuel prices go up, though, you generally want to slow it down, focus on your MPGs, because essentially that fuel surcharge ends up being a lagging indicator, getting set the following week. So as that price goes up, you end up having fuel eat up your profit real quick.
Yeah, I feel like it's a broken record that every week now we keep talking about diesel going up, but
it's not going to stop probably for the next couple of months here at this moment, which, like I said, normally you see it at the beginning of the summer as more families go on summer vacations or long trips. So it's a little unusual to see it this time of year. We're still about 60, 70 cents from where we were at the peak last year at this time. So we aren't in that bucket yet, but freight rates were a lot more attractive this time last year to make up for that. So in a current environment where there's some spot market rates that are just ugly right now, the timing of this could not be worse.
And something else I wanted to talk about is Idalia, the storm that's turning into a hurricane starting down there in Florida. So definitely the drivers down there, take a look at the Florida Association Twitter feed, but also Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas, definitely around that coast. We're having drivers having to definitely think about that. I have my friend in Delmont there in North Carolina was talking about Idalia and having to be careful about that because I know the governor in Florida is already talking about a state of emergency starting tomorrow, and the one in North Carolina, so I can imagine Georgia and South Carolina too. So what is MVT thinking about when it comes to safety?
First thing would be rollover accidents.
Okay.
And I will tell anybody, be it an MVT driver or any other driver, it's not as bad as having a failed drug test, but having a rollover is not good on your background. Obviously, I want to put things in perspective. If someone loses their home or if somebody dies, that's a much more pressing issue at that moment. But with that said, from a driver's perspective, you're going to want to watch winds and wind forecasts. The nice thing now with Google, Bing, and any of the sources that you get your weather is you get updates and forecasts on wind. From a driver's perspective, if you're on I-10, that's going to be going north, so you're going to have wind going south to north, basically hitting the side of your trailer. You need to be looking at the wind speeds. If you're seeing 40, 50 mile an hour gusts and you're sitting without a load under you, you do not need to be going on I-10 at that moment. You're literally asking to have a rollover. And this is one of the things that makes a driver, somebody like Kameel and I just driving our personal vehicles, compared to you, a professional on the road, is you got to be cognizant of that. You're going with 80,000 pounds potentially down the road. You have a huge side of that trailer that basically picks up wind like a kite. And so you don't want to have that rollover and then be talking to a recruiter going, well, it wasn't my fault. It was. We know what's coming, so be cognizant of that. And if you're with a company, and I can tell you with our drivers, we look at weather forecasts, but when our drivers say, hey, I'm having trouble staying in my lane, we want you to pull over. We much rather you continue with a career in the trucking industry. We want to take care of our customers. And so from a driving perspective, I know you still got to make a living out there, but be really smart and avoid rollovers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because it's affecting quite a few states. And to think about my friend being further north in North Carolina, up there in Raleigh, and he's getting alerts about it. And we're talking about all the way down in Miami, so that's kind of the furthest you can go in the United States and be affected. That's pretty much a big deal.
Yeah, and you're going to see a lot of the things without turning into a meteorologist here. You'll see the first few waves have already started to hit the U.S. of storms. So places like Albany, Georgia, Biloxi are already getting hit, and you got to watch out with those leading fronts, because you'll start seeing some tornadoes take place in the southeast U.S. as well. So even if you're not in Hurricane Central and you're anywhere in the southeast, you'll be wanting to watch your radar.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do is go to our first commercial, and then we're going to kind of do a recap from last week and talk about basically the transition from DeAnthony, and he's now in orientation, and go from there. So our first commercial break. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back, everybody. So we wanted to talk about DeAnthony. So last week he was here. He won the $100 gift card to the grocery store of his choice. So his choice is Kroger. And I know you wanted to talk about something about Kroger, so we're going to get into that in a minute. So that was funny that I brought Kroger up. But last week, he was getting prepared. Josue went over all of his travel. He got his Greyhound ticket. He sent that to his third-party recruiter, which was us. But his personal third-party recruiter is Nimmer, which works for Rig on Wheels. So he made sure Nimmer had all of the information that Josue, which is his internal MVT recruiter, gave him. And everything, and he showed up for orientation. He's in orientation. Everything is going well for him. Any updates?
Yeah, he's presently in orientation right now in Laredo. Today is Tuesday, so he's in day one. He should be getting complete and hired on tomorrow. He basically came in yesterday afternoon, did his road test, drug test, got those all cleared out. Got a chance to inspect his equipment, meet some of the operational team, and so he's ready to go, and we're excited to have him. In his particular case, going on to Division 440, I believe, is what he's on. Yeah. That sounds right. I had to think a little bit there.
He's on 440.
But yeah, DeAnthony's down there, and we got a good group of people starting out of Laredo this week. We generally do orientation in Laredo, Nashville, and El Paso. and he'll have freight right out of there with his respective division.
Okay, perfect. So what happens? Okay, so Wednesday he'll be ready to go, but what does that mean?
So he will get a chance to do a final inspection of his truck. God forbid, hopefully it's ready for him, but if it's not, if there's something he doesn't feel comfortable with, he'll have that opportunity directly with the shop down there to go, hey, I don't like this, this, and this. Ideally, that's the worst case scenario, but we much rather be really detailed, because understand, when you're on the road, that truck is your home. It matters. And it's not just about cosmetics. We got to make sure the wheels are up to standards. We have to make sure that the interior is comfortable and it's clean and it's detailed.
Right.
When you leave that facility, you should be comfortable staying in that truck. Now, he's going to get home probably pretty soon after he leaves orientation, most likely going to Houston in his case. But with that said, we want you to be comfortable. So that's the first part of it. The second part of this is we start pre-planning out what he's going to be doing, what his next week looks like, basically. So he has a good game plan of what's coming up. And that's the nice thing with us. The fact that we are not so heavily dependent on spot market freight and we have direct customer freight, we can start projecting out 2-3 loads in advance what he's going to be doing. It's trucking. Life happens.
Right.
Loads get canceled. Things happen. But we want to have a game plan to where that first week he has a game plan. We go into the 30 days. We can sit back and go, okay, we're at 30 days. How do we improve on what we've done? So he's going to find over the next 90 days, he's routinely having conversations with his fleet manager so that we can have a game plan every day of the week.
Okay, good. So it's not necessarily he's going to be mentored, but he'll be coached to make sure that he's basically on the plan that he wants to be on.
And truth be told, he's coaching the fleet manager as well.
Okay.
It's a 50-50 relationship. So the more we over-communicate in those early stages, the easier this gets for both the driver, the fleet manager, and ultimately the customer. So he's going to have daily communications. He may want to communicate in many different ways as time goes on, but we want D'Anthony to be comfortable now so he can get to that 6-month and 12-month mark and be comfortable with his decision.
Okay, and I know right now 440 is not the hot job, but what states and what areas or loop, engineered lanes, but I like the word loop, is it that D'Anthony is going to be traveling?
Well, with 440, you're primarily going to be running out of eastern Texas through the Tennessee Valley.
Okay.
So you're going to hit places like Memphis, Nashville, potentially southern Kentucky. On the Texas side, you're going to be hitting places like Laredo, Houston, Dallas quite a bit. But you're essentially running back and forth on that. So he's going to get weekly home time. I know he talked last week when he was with us about having a close-knit family, wanting to spend time with family. It's one of those divisions that will allow him to do that and have predictability when it's home time. When he says, I'm going to be home on Thursday at 5 p.m., unless there's an act of God or some weather system, he'll be home at 5 p.m. on Thursday.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, great. So now, when you were saying he's going to check out his truck, that's basically like pre-trip in the truck, everything. So when he leaves out, is he going to leave out with a load, or what is he doing?
Most likely he'll leave out with a load. There's always exceptions to the rule, but most likely, yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted to know. Now that we have D'Anthony squared away, because we brought up Kroger, I want to know.
Yeah.
You was telling me a little bit about what could possibly happen if Albertsons and Kroger merge.
So we're fortunate with MVT. We don't do a lot of business with them, but we're going to see a lot of mergers over the next several years.
Yes.
And when the economy goes down and prices change and stock prices, and I don't want to turn into Mr. Economist here, but you'll see a lot of mergers, and this is where customer service matters. So if you have Company A, that you're a company that services Company A,
right,
and you have Company B, and those two come together, a lot of times if you don't have good customer service to your ultimate customer, you'll find through acquisition, no fault of your own, just all of a sudden, boom, you don't have freight anymore. So one of the things to be focused on as the driver is that customer service experience, on-time delivery, communicating. So we're going to start seeing a lot of these shippers start merging or go through flux. We've seen it with companies like Anheuser-Busch. They went through flux, numerous reasons for that. With Anheuser-Busch, there were internal things that forced that, but one of the things you'll see is a lot of these mergers. And so with Kroger's and Albertsons probably merging over the next 3 months, you're going to see a lot of companies that do business with them see a dramatic increase or decrease in their freight levels. Ultimately, it's not price that wins that out right off the bat. It's customer service. It's on-time delivery performance. This is where the fundamentals and that value proposition of I'm a professional driver, this is what I bring to the party right now, becomes real valuable. A lot of people think that as a driver, you don't impact what you get per mile, and you don't impact. You absolutely do. You are the first point of contact. You are the face that they see of the company. Your ability to communicate, hey, I'm not going to be on time because this weather's happening.
Right.
So that we can communicate with the customer becomes really important, because when these mergers happen, if you don't do that, you'll find out that you got the short end of the straw.
And then it goes back to being a professional driver versus just being a driver. As mergers happen, right? When mergers happen, and think of corporate America. So as mergers happen, you might only need one or two of this person. So when people have to think, and management has to think, who am I going to bring along with me, or who do I want to stay with me? They only want people that make doing business easy.
Yep.
Okay, so it goes back to what you keep saying, relationships matter. And it goes along with everything. You don't want to do business with somebody that makes it hard to do business with.
Yep.
So we're going to make it a thing where we bring more drivers on, because I want to show examples of drivers that have been driving for 6 months, and ones like a DeAnthony that's been driving for 3 or 4 years, and ones that have been in the industry for longer than that can show you what it takes to be a professional driver. But it can actually talk about being out there on the road and dealing with shippers and hard times, because when they talk about it, the actual hard times of pulling up to docks and not really sure, and saying, oh, because they see another mega carrier, then they know it's okay and safe to be here. I heard one say that the other day, that they knew it was safe to be here because they saw another mega carrier. Something I wouldn't even thought about.
I could think of that. It's the interesting thing with spot market freight, is you don't know the customer, they don't know you. Generally speaking, 99% of the time that relationship goes well. But there's nothing like making a delivery and you're the only person there. It's one of the hard part for shippers, small shippers that may only receive 1 or 2 loads a week. You kind of like going to a bigger facility that's secured, that you know that you're not the only one there. And so that's an interesting observation I have to think about now.
Yeah, and because when he said that, I was like, oh, because I've never, of course, delivered a load. You don't want me to drive my car too much. So I was like, oh, and then because I was thinking of why, and I had my own ideas of why.
Yeah.
But they were saying that because you don't know, it's dark, and it just starts making you think. And then sometimes if you are, he was with a smaller carrier, and you don't always know what it is you're hauling. But when you see a larger carrier, then it makes you feel more comfortable.
Now, I know a lot of our drivers like going into a shipping facility and seeing a lot of our trailers. Okay. That's a comfort level there, because they believe that they're going to get a higher level of respect from that shipper. Because if you're one of the regular shipper or one of the regular carriers that go in there, they treat you different than if you're the odd man out. So I know a lot of our drivers have had that conversation that, hey, when I go into a shipper and I see there's 80 of our trailers and 20 of our trucks there, they go, I tend to get a higher level of respect from the customer than if I'm the one MVT driver there and I'm sitting there and there's 50 Schneiders and there's 20 Swifts, and they go, I tend to like going to shippers that we kind of have a presence.
Yeah, that's the point. Something I wouldn't even think about. That is the whole purpose of me making sure that we have drivers come on here and there, because that's a different perspective.
It is.
Or just having, other people from other departments. Just because of that, you bring in a different perspective.
And in our world, we could easily overlook that.
Yeah, because I wouldn't even think about anything like that at all. So what I want to do is go to another commercial and then come back and talk about a hot job. Thank you for coming back. So what we're going to do now is talk about a hot job. We're going to talk about 400 out of Nashville with the nice background when you're there in the Nashville terminal.
Yep. Yeah, with Division 400, and we've talked about it fairly continuously. It's one of the opportunities we have that's rapidly expanding. Always looking for drivers that live around the Nashville area within a 100-mile radius. We're running up to the Northeast. Our version of the Northeast does not include New York City, the George Washington Bridge. We go to places central Pennsylvania, upstate New York. That's our version of the Northeast. Potentially southern New Jersey. But outside of that, we are not going up in New England. We're not dealing with any of that. For those of you that have driven in the Northeast, you know that once you get off the interstate, those roads are old and they're narrow and they're a pain to get around. So we don't have a lot of interest in that. But coming out of Nashville, we have a lot of customers that we've had for decades now at this point that will go up to the Northeast there and we grab freight and come right back down into that area. It pays well. Most of those drivers are at about $90,000 to $95,000 a year, so you're able to have a nice living off of that while getting home every week. And so that's a big benefit there where you get the money, you get the home time, and you get a pretty easy running lane from a standpoint that you're not having to deal with the challenges of some of those carriers that go into the extreme Northeast.
So let's talk about it. But what if they see a truck in the Northeast? You missed that part. Well, you normally say that sometimes.
Yeah, something's either gone wrong, someone's stolen our truck and we need to call law enforcement, or somebody wanted to do something weird and we got them a broker load because they wanted to try something new. But that I don't know many people that have a fantasy of driving up in New England. So that doesn't happen often.
I was just wanting you to say that. Okay. And what about 220?
220, our Western 11 there. So if you live out of Phoenix, Salt Lake City, or the Portland area, we run a lot of freight for a division called 220. You'll hit places like Denver, Salt Lake City, Portland, a little bit of California, and the Arizona marketplace with occasional stops in El Paso. It's one of our highest paying divisions, and so that's where we normally have drivers that start getting into that six-figure range. At 60 cents a mile, you're going to see anywhere between $90,000 to $106,000 a year. Get home every 7 to 8 days. As we talked about previously, you know, some jobs pay this while other jobs pay this, and it's really about sacrifice and what you do. Mm-hmm. What makes this job difficult is it's a lot of mountain driving. So there is chaining in the winter time. With that said, that's why you make more money. It's why you also have the opportunity of going into any of those other divisions that are available in your market. So as an example, when I pick up a dedicated customer or a new customer, a new opportunity, normally Division 220 is one of those divisions that will look at drivers first and go, hey, would you like this other opportunity? Because we know if they're good on 220, they most likely will be very reliable in any of the other new opportunities that come along down the road.
And that's when your recruiter will actually ask you, what is it you want to do? You know, because if you start out with just asking about the money first, you know, money doesn't drive. We think it drives, but it doesn't drive you. It's literally, what is it you want to do? What type of home time, things like that, then we get to the money. You know,
the challenge in Portland, and this is an interesting job from Portland's standpoint, it's a high cost living market. So if we know anybody that lives in Portland, that West Coast is expensive to live. On top of that, you have high income tax in the state of Oregon. So one of the ways that you can go around that is have a high paying job.
Absolutely.
And that's where 220 comes into effect, because you have to have the opportunity to just make a living up there. It's a beautiful area, unbelievable scenery. Portland itself is going through some issues, but the surrounding area is beautiful. But you got to have a job that supports living in that market, and that's where Division 220 comes into play and gives you that opportunity. The second part of that in Phoenix, as an example, is Phoenix is getting expensive too. Your average 3-bedroom, 2-bath house now is about $560,000 in the Phoenix metro area. Mm-hmm. You have to have a job that's going to be able to allow you to live in the metro area that you live. And so that's one of those opportunities. We have other opportunities in those two markets, but at the end of the day, that cost of living impacts how you make a living, and you're going to have the opportunity to make a high salary or high rate per mile in order to live there. And so this division does that specifically.
Absolutely. But as a recruiter, I always ask a driver, even when we talk money, I literally ask them, what is it you want to do?
Yeah.
Because, like, for an example, I know the 220 makes more money, but if you come back a little bit of Texas, right, and you have a couple of divisions in Texas,
yep,
and we'll have drivers that'll say more money, and then you'll have a driver that'll say, well, no, I thought I wanted to make more money and I wanted more home time, or I don't want to have to do this, or I want to have to do that. Because when you talk about the chain, some drivers want to chain, some don't.
Yeah.
But if you have a driver that wants to chain, how much money is it they're talking about making on average weekly?
Oh yeah, weekly. I mean, you could go up to $2,000. It's $90,200 or $90,000 to $106,000 a year. So you can have a $2,000 week. But you bring up a good point, and DeAnthony talked about that last week.
Mm-hmm.
His big thing was family.
Yeah.
So it was not going paycheck shopping. He was trying to get home on a weekly basis, and so and the nice thing with working on Rig on Wheels. Before they ever get to us, they generally have had that conversation and listed out what their top 3 priorities are. So by the time they have that conversation with MVT, we're going over the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, because I think if you're a driver that wants to make the $2,000 a week and you're in the Portland, Phoenix area, that's important, definitely. And just know that you're going to be chaining. And There's a lot of drivers that definitely want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an awesome opportunity. I like that, especially in that area.
I'll take 5 or 6 of them tomorrow.
Because you definitely need that in that area. Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to come back after this. I want to definitely talk about the equipment, MVT's equipment, where you get your trucks from, all of that, and throw in some before we talk about the equipment, I want to throw in some questions that Kayla has for us first, right after this commercial.
My name is Stacy Morton, and my position is OTR driver, and I've been with the company for 8 months. I enjoy being with part of the family because good miles, nice people. They listen to the drivers. The pay is excellent here at MVT. The home time is very good. You get to go home anytime you want. The dispatchers are really nice. They listen to the drivers, whatever you want. They will do their best to give you what you need. And the equipment is good, and safety is excellent. Yeah, they're fast, and the roadside is good. They listen to you, and they get the job fixed in a timely manner. Yeah, I would recommend other drivers to come to MVT because this is a good place to work, and you get excellent home time and everything that you need here.
Welcome back. Well, the first thing we're going to do right now is take some questions. Kayla has some questions, so shoot, Kayla. Well, don't shoot, just ask the questions.
Yes, Kameel. So we had a question come through. What are the company's safety standards about pet and rider policies?
Okay. On a rider policy, you want to have them at 18 years of age or older on that end. There's insurance involved that comes with that. We always have a conversation with you as an individual because some people want to have people go during the summer months. The key is for your safety knowing who is in the truck, and that sounds like a minor deal because you would think as a driver a lot of times, well, why can't I have my kid with me? And I came from a time where, look, back in 1985, I was in the truck for the first time, and it probably was not safe. I was jumping around the sleeper berth and jumping on the seats. Those days are over. You can't do that. And truth be told, the fact that I live to tell about it is kind of a tall tale there. So the caveat to that is have the conversation with us. On the pet policy, you're absolutely able to have a pet. We'll always work with somebody that has a service animal, which becomes more common now. But with that said, we don't have a weight limitation anymore on that. We did previously. So if you talked with us in the past and there was a weight limitation that was a concern, we've gotten rid of that. We don't have that at this moment. Generally, we'll do a deposit. That deposit makes sure that we can cover the truck being detailed because that next person that has the truck should not know that you had a pet. So we make sure to get that covered as well. But that's, again, an individual conversation. And this gets into the importance of having that initial conversation both with Rig on Wheels as well as MVT about those specifics that are unique to you. So it could be your home time, it could be your pay, but it could also be I have a pet. I've got to have that pet in the truck with me. I have somebody that wants to ride with me. Anything else that's unique to you that's a big deal breaker for you, you want to have that conversation early. Do not wait till you're scheduled for orientation. Don't wait till you're sitting in orientation itself. Have it in those initial 1 or 2 conversations so that all that can be worked out in advance.
That's where communication comes in. Communication is always a big deal because you know very early if you need a rider policy. It's not something that happens the day before orientation. And you also know if you want Fido to come along with you because Fido is a part of your family already. So what's your next question,
Well,
Kayla?
this kind of ties into that. Just one more piggyback on the pet policy. Are they allowed the pets to attend orientation?
Yeah, so the hotel that we keep them at may ask for a deposit ranging between $50 to $75. That's refundable depending on the condition of the room. But yes, they're allowed to have them attend orientation.
That's a good question because all companies are not like that.
Correct.
Okay. I didn't know if you knew that. But
No.
all companies are not MVT.
Yeah, let me be clear here. If Fido comes in and bites somebody, that changes the relationship really quickly. But as long as you have a behaved pet, that's not a problem.
Okay, great.
So,
I have another question about orientation. So after orientation is finished, how long will it take for the driver to get dispatched home to pick up her gear?
So the goal in normal circumstances is that orientation ends and they're in a truck within about 2 to 3 hours of completing that orientation, preferably under a load. Normally our goal is to, depending on where you live and where you attended orientation, our goal is to get you a load to the house so that you can then load up the truck. With that said, depending on where you live and attended, you may need to take a load that goes to that load that goes to your house. So as an example, most of the time when we have a driver in Memphis, they're going to attend orientation in Nashville. But let's say there was an available truck in El Paso. Well, we might not have a load that goes from El Paso to Memphis. We may have a load that goes El Paso to Dallas. They deliver and then get a load Dallas to Memphis to get them to their respective area. So I always tell somebody, bring at least 4 to 5 days worth of clothing so that you're prepared for that to potentially happen.
and life happens. So you know how that goes.
I will point out too, most of our drivers that fly to orientation fly via Southwest, so you're not charged for luggage. If you're on a flight that takes you to orientation in Laredo, Southwest is unavailable. So keep in mind there, if you're going to Laredo, you may need to pay for luggage. But generally, if you're going to Nashville or El Paso, you don't have to pay for luggage. So go ahead and put 4, 5, 6 days worth of clothing in there. Be prepared.
Okay, thank you. What kind of freight does the company haul?
So we are all 48-foot dry van, no touch, no hazmat needed, freight's all kind. Depending on the division, you'll see a lot of our customers are like Anheuser-Busch, Starbucks, Lowe's, Home Depot, IKEA primarily. You'll see a lot of that. Electrolux, 3M. So there's nothing special about our freight from a standpoint of you're not going to have anything hazardous. So you're not going to have to worry, are you glowing in the dark after you've delivered your load? We're not doing any of that stuff that requires you to have a hazmat endorsement. You don't need to get triples, doubles, tankers, any of that stuff. It is just straight up dry van freight, and you're not a lumper, so it's all no touch freight as well. We pay for your expertise behind the wheel and with the equipment, not to unload something into a warehouse.
Awesome. My last question sent in is, what type of benefits does the company offer?
We have health, dental, vision, 401k, paid insurance, we have life insurance, we have 401k, I said already. We pretty much have it all.
Full benefits.
Yeah, so it's a full benefits package. I'm personally on it. I have the exact same insurance that a driver would have. And so a little bit about my situation. I have a wife, I have 5 kids. Health insurance for me matters. I need to make sure I get covered in a lot of different locations. So our insurance is somewhat unique from that standpoint that, heck, I even have coverage down in Mexico. If you live in Nashville, that probably is not that big of a benefit. But if you live in Laredo, you live in El Paso, or any place near the U.S.-Mexican border, that can be very beneficial. But yes, it's widely accepted and it's low cost.
Is that it, Kayla?
That's all I have for now.
Okay, perfect. So that'll take us right into it. let's talk about equipment.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, absolutely. So our equipment comes from Penske. We have a very close working relationship with Penske. That helps a couple of different ways there. They want to give you really good equipment. They take care of their own equipment like we owned it. So that equipment, as an example, let's say that you got a bad truck that had an issue with it, though, because it could theoretically happen. You get stranded someplace. They have a fiduciary interest to get to you quickly, and if that truck can't be fixed on the spot, getting you a truck that can go ahead and replace that truck so you can keep on moving. I can't emphasize it enough. That's a big advantage of having the engineered lanes. If I am running all 48 states and I break down in Pocatello, Idaho, I may have to sit 2-3 days because I don't have another truck. I have to wait for that truck to get fixed. In this world where you get paid on a mileage rate, that is extremely costly, and I don't know anybody that's paying layover pay where it equals what you'd be actually moving freight. So with Penske having that kind of contingency that they'll come to you and make sure you have a truck because of those engineered lanes, that's going to keep you moving and ultimately lead to your bottom line being a lot healthier. It's all 2019 or newer internationals. Big sleeper berth at 71 inches. So traditionally your regional carriers have a 56-inch sleeper berth. This is a sleeper berth that's made for a team. So essentially if you're a team or you're a solo driver, you'll have plenty of space to stretch and maneuver around, stand up fully. It's not a mid-roof, it's a full roof sleeper. It's got an APU unit attached to it, so you're able to go ahead and have air conditioning at night. You're able to have heat at night without necessarily having to idle. It's got plugs in there, so you don't have to worry about putting a power inverter. You'll be able to plug in a refrigerator, a TV, a microwave, and a number of other opportunities to plug in electronics. I know some people like playing Xbox or PlayStation in their truck, and they're able to do that in our truck. So late model, dependable, and has all sorts of amenities so that you can live your life on the road comfortably.
Well, since it's Virgo season, I would like to bring some trouble, since you like to say you don't like sign-on bonuses.
Yeah.
And I'm a recruiter and we like sign-on bonuses. I'd like to say, tell us about your in-facing cameras. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, so we have outward-facing and inward-facing cameras. Now, when these first came out about 5 years ago, you'd swear you're going to cause a mob scene in an orientation. Big Brother is watching you. The sky is falling. It is not. We have 1,900 drivers on the road. We do not pay people to sit there and just stare at you all day long while you're driving down the road. We'd lose money on it. There's just not enough man hours in the day. The outward-facing camera and inward-facing camera are set off by certain motions. So as an example, let's say that you hard braked. The outward-facing camera turns on and it catches that 10-second to 15-second window of why you hard braked. If you got hit by somebody, if you ended up hitting a pothole or some obstruction fell in front of you, that picks up on that. That inward-facing camera is only set off by that same motion. So as an example, if you hard braked, if you swerved erratically, if something changed in the truck to where its equilibrium's messed up, that's where it catches that. So it's about a 10 to 15-second window. Theoretically, what you'll catch is somebody, as an example, maybe not wearing a seatbelt, being on a cell phone, exhibiting something dangerous. If you're not doing anything wrong, that footage never goes anyplace. There's nobody that reviews this stuff. So as an example, if you had a car accident, though, where you had a hard brake or stopped erratically, and then the inward-facing camera shows you like this, looking down, scrolling through Twitter, it will catch that. It absolutely would catch that. We'd want to catch that you're unsafe as a driver on the road. We would have evidence of that, and we'd want to part company. You literally are not safe on the road. But yes, it is not watching people sleep in the sleeper, which additionally we have drapes that can be placed in there. So when you're in the sleeper, even if that were to come on, no one would see anybody in the sleeper there.
Right.
But it is this idea that Big Brother is watching you. We aren't. We aren't. We don't have anybody that sits down watching folks sleep or driving all day long. It's normally activated by some kind of change in motion or, like I said, that balancing of the truck. Outside of that inward-facing camera is pretty much inoperable outside of those hours.
So basically, I can't start any trouble. It's just for safety.
Oh, it is. It is.
It helps the driver.
It is. And often it helps us, even the inward-facing camera helps us when we go to court, or most likely cases will get dropped before they reach court here because we have evidence that no, The driver was not distracted. The four-wheeler caused the accident. Here's a view of the driver. Here's a view of the four-wheeler. And normally we get out of a lot of tickets or potential litigation because of that fact. The inward and outward-facing cameras are not only a friend to MVT specifically, but our driver base. If you're a professional on the road and you're doing what you need to be doing,
Right.
instead of you having to hopefully get a jury that understands trucking, which is few and far between, you have evidence that clearly protects
Yes.
you in that scenario.
Speaking of that, since I'm back on your side now, because Raven had another driver, bring this up, and I promised her that I would have you talk about it again. But basically about the governing of trucks.
Yeah.
And how the whole myth of governing of trucks being dangerous.
Yeah, yeah. So our trucks are governed at 65. Now,
Right.
if you can show that your MPG is above 8 miles per hour or better on the top side of the fleet, we will raise it up, and we have people going as fast as 68. There is nothing gained by going 75 miles an hour down the road. Literally, the one cost we can control is fuel.
Right.
And you will hear theories from drivers, I promise you, well, the sweet spot on my truck's 72. That's the sweet spot. There is not a sweet spot to the truck. I promise you that one-off driver that told you in the truck stop their sweet spot has run no scientific studies whatsoever. Asked to see their clinical research. So we have them at 65. It's where we get the best MPGs based off of what we've seen as far as evidence without causing an issue on the road. Look, if you're on the interstate and you're going 50 all the time, you're gonna cause an issue. People are gonna have trouble getting around you when they need to. At 65, yeah, you're not gonna pass everybody on the road.
No.
But again, our average length of haul is 400 miles. Very rarely are we going in spots where the speed limit is 75. The only exception would be, I think that'd be I-30 that runs from DFW. I-30 and then connects into 10 going to El Paso. Pretty much the only stretch of the country that we run that the speed limit's above 65. And so the caveat to that is at 65, you are not the slowest vehicle on the road. In fact, you should be going with the flow of traffic for the most part, but you and I both know there's aggressive four-wheelers out there, or you have owner-operators that don't really pay attention to their fuel, but they're going out of business right now because they're not paying attention to their fuel, and the spot market stinks, and they're not trying to mitigate costs. We aren't going to set the truck at 75. I don't want to be lie to you and say, oh, there's a chance we're going to crank it up. We aren't. The cost of fuel is the one thing that we can save money on, and as we've talked about previously, once you've purchased the truck and once you picked up the freight, you can control the costs for a trucking company either with driver pay or with fuel. Yeah. We're not going to take away the 18 pay increases we did last year to drivers. We are going to try and take that away from, look, ConocoPhillips is not going to make as much money off of us. I'm sorry to ConocoPhillips and Exxon, but that's where we'll save our money.
That's good. So what we're going to do is go to commercial. Let's play the one where the guy's talking about the innovative MVT truck. And then we'll come back and talk about the car giveaway.
At Mesilla Valley Transportation, every driver is behind the wheel of a late model International LT, a truck that takes comfort, convenience, and safety to a whole new level. Join us as we explore the impressive features of this powerhouse on wheels. The open road is full of surprises, and sometimes that includes unexpected encounters with wildlife. But worry not, the International LT has you covered. The front end protection guard offers an extra layer of defense, protecting you from animal strike. Drive with confidence, knowing that you're shielded from the unexpected. We all know how important it is to keep our batteries charged, and our International LTs have your back. The Cummins X15 is equipped with an auto start feature, ensuring that your batteries are automatically recharged when they run low on volts. It's a seamless process that keeps you powered up and ready to hit the road. Disc brakes and an engine brake provide reliable and safe stopping power when you need it most. You can have peace of mind knowing that you're in control. Safety is at the forefront of what we do. Our International LTs are equipped with top-of-the-line safety features to ensure your well-being while out on the road. These tractors are equipped with Bendix fusion protection, collision mitigation, and lane departure warning. Achieving good fuel efficiency deserves recognition. With the International LT, your efforts don't go unnoticed. When you consistently achieve impressive miles per gallon, the International LT rewards you with increased speed. It's a little extra motivation to keep you pushing for better fuel economy. After a long drive, you're ready for a well-deserved break. With the International LT, you can enjoy your rest period in absolute comfort. Thanks to its auxiliary power unit, you can keep the driver's cabin heated or cooled just the way you like it. No matter the weather outside, you'll always find your sweet spot within our International LTs. The International LT understands that comfort extends beyond driving. It's a space where you can truly feel at home. I'm a big guy, and I have room to move around in here. With plenty of room to spare, the International LT accommodates even the tallest drivers. And there's ample storage for all your clothes, cooking essentials, and tools, making life on the road even more convenient. Speaking of cooking, bring along your appliances and don't sacrifice any luxuries thanks to all of our International LTs being equipped with built-in inverters. Dry your hair, make a smoothie, or play a game, all from the comfort of your truck. We take pride in our well-maintained fleet, and if by chance you do come across something wrong on your truck, you're never far from help thanks to our valuable relationship with Penske. With more than 750 brick-and-mortar Penske shops nationwide, their expert team is always ready to assist you. From routine maintenance to unexpected repairs, they'll get you taken care of and back on the road in no time. And there you have it. Just a few things about this late model International LT that make MVT the place to be.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for coming back. Now Pierson is going to tell y'all how my husband, if he was a driver, if I had a husband, could win me a new car with this fuel efficiency.
Well, if someone bought you a new car, they'd be well on their way to becoming your husband. That's a good way to get that started.
That is a very good way,
yeah, absolutely. If you get great MPGs, this is the company for you. And one of the things that we do to reward that is no bigger issue with MPGs is addressed than driver behavioral patterns. And what I mean by that is your ability to pre-plan, look at the times that you're going into a city, slow down when you need to, not go on and off the interstate continuously, timing out when you go to a truck stop. Those make a major impact on the fuel economy you get, where the rest of the industry averages about 6.5 miles a gallon, give or take. We average about 9 to 9.5 gallons of fuel, and a lot of that's based off of what our drivers do, as well as the great equipment that you just looked at. So what we end up doing is the person with the best fuel economy will get, each quarter will get a brand new car. Normally it's a 2022 or 2023 Nissan. It could be the Sonata. We've done an Altima before. They're really nice cars, real sharp cars. I had a chance to be at the last giveaway, real smooth looking car. And if you go to our headquarters there, you'll literally see it in the lobby every quarter as far as what we're giving away. So it's one of the unique things there is you literally can do your job effectively and come home and surprise the missus or mister, depending on if you're male or female, and go, look, I got a gift for you here. So it's a really nice thing. All divisions are eligible for it. All drivers are eligible for it. And what we found here is the division that they come from seems to change. So just because somebody won it in a different division, you'll find with our engineered lanes, most of our divisions have the ability to make that a realistic goal for them in their career. Whoever gets the best fuel economy for the year will get $25,000. And so above and beyond that car, there's nothing like getting a $25,000 bonus on top of your pay. So whoever has the best MPGs at the end of the year gets $25,000. We work with all of our drivers. So literally our drivers can go into our facilities. They will see where their MPGs are, where they are versus the bottom of the fleet versus the top of the fleet. And it's something that we will work with you. So if you're not where you want to be on your fuel economy, between the maintenance department, the safety department, and your fleet manager, we work together to get you to where you want to get to it so that you have the chance of getting that car.
And what I wanted to point out is the guy that's in that last commercial, and I wanted to say this before, but I think I only say it during the commercial breaks. But the guy that's in that last commercial is not, it's not that I'm short, it's just that most people are taller than me. So I'm 5'3". That guy is 6'5". So he is in the condo and standing up, and you see how big that condo is, and you see how big the truck is, MVT's truck. So that's huge. So you have drivers that are talking about, you know, I'm a big guy and all of that. So I know we're talking about fuel, but I had to point that out because sometimes we don't have drivers that are, you know, the average American man height, which is 5'9", 5'10". Like that guy is 6'5". I have a kid that tall. That is a huge guy. So I just wanted to point that out.
It's probably why he's that happy.
Yeah. Because he didn't have to bend down or anything. He had a lot of room to move. So, but if you are looking, but I know that you are looking for another job, another career, definitely give us a call at 281-968-3100. If you have 6 months experience, almost 6 months experience, 3 years experience, 10 years experience, as a Class A driver, give us a call. You're looking for no touch freight, but you are okay with chaining and you're over west, definitely give us a call at 281-968-3100, or go to our website and fill out an application at rigonwheels.com. Thanks. Bye-bye.